I'm gonna hazard a guess that most of you watching can quite easily name the first appearance of the core cast of Mario characters. Mario himself, Donkey Kong. Princess Peach, Super Mario Bros. Yoshi, Super Mario World. Daisy, Super Mario Land. You get what I mean. But there are also some characters that actually made their debut in a different game than you may think. For example, Captain Toad. Pretty major character, he has his own game and a slew of appearances in the biggest Super Mario titles to boot, and all of that was the result of his unique levels in Super Mario 3D World. As such, it's easy to think this was Captain Toad's first appearance, and well, that is correct when purely looking at his current design. The character Captain Toad made his debut 7 years prior, as captain of the Toad Brigade seen in Super Mario Galaxy. Design-wise, he is already well on his way, but is still lacking the exploration gear he wears today, instead being a red Toad with a backpack, pickaxe and flashlight. All of those are still part of his getup today though, so it's unmistakably the same character, just with a much less important role. And there are more characters that fall in this camp of appeared in an earlier game, but has a much bigger role in, or a stronger association with a later game. For example, Wiggler's big breakthrough was undoubtedly Super Mario 64, where it is one of the bosses in the game, and for many people, probably the first time they really realized the Mario series has a big funny caterpillar. But prior to the first 3D Mario, Wiggler had already appeared in a mere 2 levels of Super Mario World, the Forest of Illusion and Outrageous, which is a special stage, so you can easily have finished the game without even playing it. Hell, you could even argue Nintendo themselves occasionally forget, as the Wigglers found in the Mario Maker games behave identically to those in the new Super Mario Bros. Games, rather than Super Mario World, as if that were their 2D debut. And you may also be surprised to learn that the winged variant of the Wiggler, the Flutter, most often seen in side series like Mario Party, are actually technically not even Mario characters at all. They made their debut in the first Yoshi's Island, making them a Yoshi enemy rather than a Mario one, if you adhere to strict borders at least. They're far from the first character to make that jump though. Kamek is by all accounts a Mario series staple at this point as Bowser's right-hand man, but he too originated from the first Yoshi's Island. Though I do think that is relatively well known, it is worth pointing out that the Magic Koopa species actually hails from Super Mario World, so you may be forgiven for thinking that's where Kamek is from as well. Similarly, I think it's fair to say that we all associate the babies with the Yoshi series very strongly. Baby Mario, Baby Luigi, Baby Bowser, they're all considered Yoshi characters in games like Super Smash Bros. Or if you're from a later generation, maybe you associate them more with Mario Kart. After all, Baby Daisy comes from Mario Kart Wii and Baby Rosalina from Mario Kart 8, because yes, what we see in Galaxy is not Baby Rosalina. There is one exception to these patterns though. Baby Peach. She hails from Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, making her debut there 1 year before making her playable debut in Yoshi's Island DS. Speaking of which, playable debuts is a fun topic to tackle within this larger group as well. For example, did you know Donkey Kong's first playable appearance was in Donkey Kong Circus, a Game & Watch title that is a remake of a Mickey Mouse focused game. Donkey Kong Country was his second, more than a decade later. Bowser had at that point already been playable. Super Mario Kart was the first time we could play as the Koopa King. Lakitu, Poochie and Kamek also have a pretty niche first playable appearance. Tetris Attack is a wildly misnamed puzzle game for the SNES and Game Boy. Not only does it have nothing to do with Tetris, it's a reskin of Panel de Pon instead, it's also based on the Yoshi series, which explains why Lakitu, Poochie and Kamek appear as playable characters here for the first time in history. It also means they didn't have to wait very long after their debut to finally become playable, but others weren't so fortunate. Goombas are easily the most iconic Mario enemies of all, but despite that fact, it would take 20 years from their debut in Super Mario Bros. Before they became playable in Mario Superstar Baseball. This game also made Dry Bones and Hammer Bro playable for the first time. But other enemies had to wait even longer. In 2015, Puzzle & Dragons Super Mario Bros. Edition released, a crossover with the popular Puzzle & Dragons series in an effort to help it find an audience in the West after blowing up in Japan. This game had a whole slew of playable characters, plenty of which had never been playable before up until this point. Spinies, Cheep Cheeps, Bob-Bombs, Thwomps, Bullet Bills, Piranha Plants. They're some of the most recognizable enemies in the entire series, and this was the very first game that made them playable. Boom Boom also made his first playable appearance here after Mario 3D Land brought him back following his long absence since Super Mario Bros. 3. Pom Pom, his new partner in crime, also had a bit of an unusual first playable game, being Super Mario Party. But the real record for longest time between introduction and first playable appearance can only go to one special lady. Pauline was first introduced as Lady in the original Donkey Kong and did not become playable until Mario Tennis Aces, a whopping 37 years later. I would not be surprised if that's a record that will stand for a very, very long time. But alright, let's get back to some actual debut games, playable or not. And one of the most beautiful and how bizarre it is, even as a result of a technicality, is Cappy. You know, the core partner and design mechanic of Super Mario Odyssey, but he actually appeared in the game prior to Odyssey's release. When Odyssey was announced at E3, a special event was held at Super Mario Run to celebrate the upcoming title. Part of this event was a statue of Cappy that could be placed in the Kingdom Builder, thus making this the first time Cappy appeared in a video game. Like I said, it's a technicality. This is a cameo and not actually Cappy, it's a statue of him, but still, it's funny to think about. Something similar happened in a completely different side of the larger Mario franchise as well, much earlier in time, and here it was the real deal. Now, calling Diddy Kong Racing a Mario game is maybe a bridge too far, but there's no denying it's at least a Donkey Kong game, surely. And since the connection between Donkey Kong and Mario is also strong as ever, I would say that in a roundabout way, Diddy Kong Racing does technically qualify as a Mario game. In which case, Banjo from Banjo & Kazooie and Conker from the Conker series, best known for Conker's Bad Fur Day, are Mario characters. Because prior to the release of their respective rare platformers, they appeared as a racer in Diddy Kong Racing. Of course, Banjo and Conker are not actually Mario characters, that's not what I'm arguing. They're both owned by Rare, which is owned by Microsoft nowadays, so Smash Bros appearances aside, they are not affiliated with Mario in any way. But that doesn't change the fact that both of them made their first appearance in a video game in Diddy Kong Racing. And last but not least, a surprising first appearance based on a personal story. So, Super Paper Mario was my first Paper Mario game, because I never had a Nintendo 64, and the Thousand Year Door was already expensive here in Europe by the time I wanted to get it. I was however aware of the general feel and vibe of the series, and I knew that, like many Mario games, especially RPGs like the Mario & Luigi series, it had a high number of characters that made one appearance and were then never seen again. So maybe you can imagine my surprise when I found out that Merlon, a super important character in Super Paper Mario, the kind that are almost always original one-off faces, had actually appeared in both prior Paper Mario games. Hell, I would wager that even if you played the series in chronological order, you may still be surprised to learn Merlon's first appearance is in the first Paper Mario. There is a huge gap in relevance and design as well between all three of his appearances. It is worth mentioning though that a character in the Thousand Year Door suggests Merlon may actually be a title rather than a person per se. So it is possible that it isn't actually the same character, but with no hard proof, I don't think we can just assume that is the case. What are some Mario characters whose debut games had you surprised? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe to the channel to stay updated on all my future Mario content coming up. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.